Star Wars geek girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.
Okay. Like, hi, I'm Zoe Hinton from Star Wars Geek Girl. I'm here with Lizzy.
Hi, I'm a warrior from war.
You're what?
I have battle wounds.
Right, your kitchen battle.
Yes. Anyway.
And we do have a guest today who will let introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Radu Plucinsky.
And so can you tell us, like, what you do and stuff?
I guess that was... Hi, I'm Radu. I'm a fabricator here in Pittsburgh for the film industry and for just general fabrication. I do a lot of work for the 501st. And I'm currently fabricating a large run of the Inferno Squad currently in my shop right now. There's Infernos everywhere.
Nice. That's cool.
And, do you want to talk about, because you were on the Star Wars show when you made Inferno Squad armor.
I was. That's how it all started. I was contacted by the Jolly Rogers Squadron. They are the detachment that handles all things pilots and TIE fighters and everything like that. They handle the uniforms for that. And they had contacted me a while back asking me to help out with sculpting a Rogue One helmet. It was for the Rogue One movie that was coming out. And we didn't really know much about it. And I started it and pretty much like around when Rogue One came out, hoping for more references. So it was like sometime in the winter. I was sculpting it and working on it and really trying to figure out the differences. And all of a sudden, yeah, then I think it was the last celebration. They announced Battlefront with the Inferno Squad, and immediately I was already working with the Jolly Rogers with the Rogue One, and I was just like, hey, notice that that's all Rogue One helmets and the armor and everything we were working on. We already kind of had in place, and then it also helped fill in the blanks. So then I started sculpting that, being it would be the both helmets. And originally we had thought the Rogue One helmets were cast in fiberglass, like many of the helmets in Rogue One. We discovered that no, they were vacuum formed. And I'm like, oh, perfect. So we just got to figure it out. And so then I think it was like midsummer, we were contacted by the Star Wars show, the Jolly Rogers were. And they said, hey, there's a unique opportunity, but you got to be really quiet, can't say anything, and to do something for the Star Wars show. And I'm like, Star Wars has a show? Okay, that sounds cool. And then I was filled in on everything, and wow, I'm like, what a cool thing. And I watched a couple episodes, and I'm like, these guys are really funny. And I was kind of not let in on much detail other than they wanted, I think they just wanted one or two at first. They wanted me to quote a price and everything. And then, it just got bigger. It was all run by Adam. Adam Peterson is the CEO of the Jolly Rogers, and he handled everything like an agent. It was pretty awesome. He was in touch with Lucasfilm, and EA Games and the Star Wars show. And then we got, some advanced images sent to us. From EA Games. So it was pretty cool. And I got to work on it. I think that was around July, and they didn't even have a date set for when they were going to shoot it. I think they were looking for beginning of October, and then they finally set a date. I had plenty of time. take plenty of time to construct everything. But then, as we got closer, they're like, okay, we know it would be Janina, the actress who played Aiden, would be part of it, and then TJ, and that they're trying to get some actors. We got Sam Whitmer, sorry. He's the voice of Darth Maul and the Emperor for Battlefront. So it was a nice little short that they did. It was a lot of fun.
It looked a lot of fun.
Yeah, so they flew me out to LA for 3 days, and then we knew they'd be playing paintball in this stuff, and then I'm like, wow, it's like a live action video game that they're going to be doing. Yeah, it was, and then it was Adam handled everything. He got in touch with the Rebel Legion out there to be fodder for the Inferno to shoot at, and they got just hit with lots of paintball. They're a good school. That's about it. And great bunch of Rebel Legion out there. They were very excited to be part of it. I got to sit at their lunch table. Had lunch with the Rebels. It was great. It was a lot of.
I just remember, when that episode of the Star Wars show came out, I was just I think I was, doing homework or something. My dad was like, hey, Radu's on the Star Wars show. And I was like, what? And he showed me, and I was like, oh, hey, I know him. It's cool.
Usually it's like when you get on there, it's just, you're just a blurb. And yeah, I had a little camera time. Did that. I didn't know. I was more concerned about getting the armor fitted, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to be on camera?" And I'm like, "I'm not dressed for that." I was like, "Get that makeup here." But yeah. It was all shot at the one of the Disney studios where they shoot the Musketeer show too. So where we filmed it was actually on that lot. So it was on Halloween too. So they let me use they had a full studio next to it, work studio, and it had a huge, it's the same vacuum former I have now, just a little bit smaller, but CNC machines, and one guy was working all this, and he's just like shop's yours, man. And he was building stuff for the Christmas show, and it was Halloween, and the Mouseketeers were running around in Halloween costumes. And it was interesting. Yeah, I definitely was not in Pittsburgh that day. But it was definitely a lot of fun. It led to a lot of work after that. So I've been busy, extremely busy in the studio since.
That's good. More
Great. This summer, I was contacted by an artist I know from, probably 25 years from the monster scene. I used to do a lot of monster conventions and horror conventions. And he bought a house out here, I guess some time ago, and he's been working on it. But he had gotten a job through a production company in New York, and they were filming the Mr. Rogers movie in Pittsburgh. And they were starting in August. So right after everything with Inferno, still in the middle of everything working on it, I was contacted to work on the Mr. Rogers movie. And I couldn't turn that down. I just couldn't. And it was supposed to be just a little part-time job that turned out to be a lot of full-time job. I was there for, I think, 3.5 months close to it. It's from August to getting to November, and it was just down the street from my house, like 9 blocks. I could ride a shopping cart to get to work, so it was really easy to just roll out of bed, splash some water on your face and get out and go work on a movie. But it took a toll on me. So after that, I mean, I'm now in the union here in Pittsburgh, and whatever movie comes to town, I kind of get called to work on it if I want to, and then I kind of fill in that time with doing commissions and sculpting stuff. Five First have been very generous in buying my work and going out and wearing it, and supporting the whole shop. Couldn't be done without them.
And you're actually, like with my dad, like working on like an animated TIE pilot, and that's for me, and not just for me obviously, but like I'm wearing one, which is super cool, for my 501st costume.
Yeah, that was something like back when I was working on the Rogue One. That had popped up on that episode of Rebels. I guess it was an Imperial. I haven't seen it. I'm sorry, but they had the Imperial TIE Academy, and they're like, "Oh, now we got to do Rebels animated TIE pilot," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you could." The cost and the expense that goes into making this stuff, and really it's the time of it sitting on your workbench it's very expensive. I had known some people that had done some computer aided design and then made some files. And that's the way I pointed your dad in that direction. Like, they're out there, man. I don't know what happened. It kind of just people were very interested in it, and then they immediately lose attention very fast in this hobby. And it's you put all that time into it. And I believe it was all done. And there was actually, I think one of my friends in South America had purchased the files, and he was just waiting for interest and somebody to really want to get it done. And that's how it all came about. I really just provided all the people and pointed your dad in the right direction there. I was just like, oh, this guy had that guy had that. And then I think it's all being handled between my friend up in Erie, David Stack. He's kind of like the Rebels expert. All things Rebels. He makes a really nice callus armor, and he just recently acquired the TK molds to do the Rebels TK, and it needs a lot of work, and he's putting the time into it. Very dedicated to it. I just don't have the shelf room, the time, any of that. I really don't. Inferno took a lot because they don't give you much in terms of reference, and in-game footage is very hard to use as reference. And then you have a bunch of fans trying to all play designer and figure out what's what. And we were very fortunate to have a lot of those questions answered directly from the games of what things were. A lot in the beginning, so I was able to incorporate that into my sculpture for it. But yeah.
You did send us a picture, and it's just like a shelf of like endless Inferno Squad helmets.
Oh, I think right now there's definitely about 15 on there that are like completed, with another 15 close to a stage of completion. And then I probably have like another 20 or so to go. My commissions. But yeah, they go quick. I finally started making them into kit forms, which really, shelf time and sitting in on your shop you realize it's more expensive than you think. So making kits, when you make it easy to build, and you make it fun for the fan to build it, where it's a fun experience and not like, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I'm going to cut in the wrong spot, and I'm going to put a rivet and screw in the wrong spot. So a lot of fans, it's their first time building something. So you got to make it pretty easy for them. That's all in sculpt. And you can't cut corners when you want to produce something like that. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now with them. Pretty much moved on to probably the next project. I know I'm trying to wrap everything up by Celebration if I can make it. There's going to be for turnout, and I don't know what. But come springtime, I know another production's coming to town. I might get another Batman in Pittsburgh. Who knows? Things keep coming, and keep the options. But things are great in the shop. So I'm finally happy.
It's good. And also, my dad, I also want to thank you for giving us a Stormtrooper helmet, which we ended up donating to Rebel Cause, because they got a lot of money for charity through that helmet. So
yeah, I stayed in touch with those guys on Facebook, and I said I had a lot of Stormtrooper parts, but nothing like the rubber trim. So it's like every year I probably have 3 or 4 of those just sitting around. They're test helmets, but there's nothing wrong with them, honestly. I don't produce things that I like the Stormtrooper helmets. That's just something I make. And it's not something I'm looking to mass produce and sell to the 501st. But it's good to have them for just friends in your garrison.
yeah.
I have the molds, and I'm looking to finish them. Making a suit to fit the average Pittsburgh person is really what I'm looking to do. But yeah, that's on the back burner. Those things take a lot of months to work. But yeah, it's a good cause.
Yeah. So how much have you actually played of Battlefront 2?
Oh, should I admit this? I don't know if I should admit this.
Oh no.
I'll put it to you this way: every character is at its max level. Can't purchase any more different versions of them. Contents, everything's maxed out. So I'd say a lot, and I'm pretty good, actually, because it's a good wind down after you're in the shop all day and you're staring at these things and you're building them and you're just trying to relax. It's pretty awesome to then just play Aiden and run around and blow rebels up. It's pretty cool. She's got a pretty cool gun. I like it. It's got like a dual function to it, and I think that's the funniest part about it is I got to know the actors pretty well after working with them for like 2 days, and they are hilarious. And to see them being like all serious in this game, and then see them playing paintball, I just have like a strange perspective, I guess, because Janita is really funny. She's a total nerd girl, and freely admits she's a total gamer herself. Really worked hard in the industry. Probably never so impressed by somebody so young. She was only 20. I think that's the funniest part is to play the game, and then of course to like play Darth Maul and hear Sam's voice. It's really funny because when I was doing the fitting, I'd be like, all right, Sam, yell at Adam in the Emperor's voice, and he'd be like, oh, you silly fool. He jump into character, but he was really funny. And TJ, it plays Dell. And I'm not saying their last names because I'm going to pronounce them terribly, by the way. TJ, who plays Del, he is extremely funny British gentleman, and we talked about his days in military academy in England and different characters that he's played over the years, and he's a screenwriter too. So he was telling me about his script, and then just out of nowhere, he'll just like quote Seinfeld, and to hear a British guy try to quote Costanzas, it's really funny. To have him try and do a Brooklyn accent, and then you're playing the game and you hear Del's voice, and you're just like, oh, this is funny. This is really fun. So that was fun. So yeah, I do play the game quite a bit, but it's strange for me. It's a different experience.
How did you enjoy the story in Battlefront 2?
Oh, I wish they gave you an option. I wish it was one of those things where, do they turn and help the resistance, or do they become mercenaries? Because, you don't want to join the First Order, because a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah.
And, oh, now she's a rebel, blah, blah, blah. No, she's now resistance. There is no more empire. So what? Yeah, the fact that you're aiding. But if you follow the story, though, I mean, the Empire was doing a very kind of doomsday scenario where they're just blowing up all their resources, everything that was Empire. They're just burning and leaving, and she saw our home planet being burned, and that was enough. That was enough for her. And I also like the fact that Heiden's character kind of questioned the Emperor. She had the nerve to do that. It was pretty cool to look up and see the Death Star blow up. Someone from the Empire that was on a mission, and you just saw everything just turn into a cloud of explosion, or from the battle station. And she kind of knew the Emperor's plan was flawed, didn't agree with it, and look at the results. And I think that's even look up. That's all you have to do is look up. Did it work? No. So I enjoyed aspects like that. But I think it would have been interesting that they could have done that. Kind of like a choose your own path. Where do you want to see them go? And I think Inferno needed more Imperial missions before the whole, say traitorous. The Empire ended. It was over. You can't traitor something that's no longer in existence. You can't follow it. That's the problem with an Empire. When the Emperor's gone, it's all scattered. So it's. I honestly, I don't know much beyond that. I don't read the books, so I don't know exactly what happened and what's canon now. I have no idea. But I think they did a good job with that. And what do you think of it? Do you play the game a lot?
I play. So I don't. My dad does constantly.
Yeah.
He plays it anytime he can, and it's funny, he complains a lot about people on the game. He hates when they just run away instead of actually fight.
Oh, well, the worst is it's they made some interesting choices in its design of having squad mates where you're paired up with 3 other people, and if you're in that area working together, you get more points towards characters you could buy later in the game. That doesn't even make sense what I just said, but if you didn't play it, but yeah, you rack up points that you can eventually become a vehicle or become a hero or a villain. And I think that's very flawed. I like that you can spawn in behind them now. What bothers me is the guns are not very Star Wars to me. They went to Call of Duty. Out of nowhere, the heavy weapons trooper just pulls out a minigun out of nowhere, and he just unleashes it on you, and then he drops it, and then he picks up his other gun. It's a little ridiculous. And then stormtroopers having shotguns and running up. It's not very Star Wars to me. I think they went to Call of Duty with the combat and the weapons, where the last Battlefront had every gun practically in the Star Wars universe. They must have had 20 different guns, where you could shoot person with the Jawa gun. It was really stupid to see a stormtrooper walking around with the Jawa blaster, and he'd just walk up and sneak up on you.
The CA-D7.
Impressive. I didn't.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, you just sneak. It's like a little shotgun. I think it has like 3 shots, and then it has to cool down. I do. A+ on, of course, the art direction on Battlefront, and definitely like the characters. Everything artistically is beautiful. But it just seems like it's the same scenario where it's like, all right, your team has to work together to get to this rocket launcher to take down this transport that's attacking you. And it's pretty much that scenario repeated. Or you just have just different points where you have to capture, and the enemy has to pretty much stop you from doing it. It's repeated. I'm fine with that, but it just seems a little silly. Like, I thought they could get a little more creative with different battle scenarios, and I thought I was bad at getting my product out. I mean, they are really not good at getting their content out. Really, there's a lot of more downloadable content that was free, and it's just very slow coming. So I find that a little frustrating. But they're working at it. I'm sure they're having their production problems, and it probably comes down to staffing, and who knows, their own little problems.
Yeah.
But you don't play it at all?
I mean, I used to play the first one.
Yeah, I like the a little bit better, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like. I enjoy more of like the bloopers and like the stuff that goes wrong in the game, because you'll see, you'll shoot someone and then all of a sudden they go flying all the way into the air. It's crazy. So
that is like a really fun thing to do when you're playing a hero and you're on the different planets, like you're on Bespin or you're on Kashyyyk, and I often wondered how people in the Star Wars world don't fall off things. Like, that doesn't happen more often, because there's no safety rails on anything. and it's like, Kashyyyk, are you serious? Guaranteed nobody nobody walks, at night around there. I'd be afraid to walk off the ledge. But it's pretty fun to play it where you're like a hero and you just run up to somebody and just push them off the ledge. It's pretty fun. I think one time I was playing Luke, and I rarely don't play that character, but they're on one of the landing platforms, and they're all just kind of standing there acting all bad, and I just walked up, did a force push, and they all went, bing! And you just gotta sit back and go, that was awesome. But yeah, that's about it. I usually don't play more than like a half hour to 45 minutes, because after that I'm just like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, my dad just, whenever he's done with something, he's like, oh, I reward myself with 10 minutes of Battlefront.
There you go. Yeah, and the other thing I don't really like is you don't get to pick your eras. If you just wanted to go in and play Galactic Assault, it's like, I'm not a big fan of the clone eras. I mean, I like playing the clone troopers, but the droids are just kind of silly. They're just kind of like comic relief that went bad.
Yeah.
You know, they could have went so much cooler with a robotic droid army, like something out of Battlestar Galactica or Terminator. That's like kind of what my generation grew up with. They went with, I think, like Lenny and Squiggy characters as robots, and it's just a little strange. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm like, oh, geez, I'm playing a droid army again, but they're hard to hit. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Droids are really hard to shoot.
I guess I really like the droids, mostly because like I grew up with them during.
It's a different generation thing.
Yeah.
There's adults that I knew. It's you talk about the different generations of Star Wars, and in the '70s, I think everybody was a fan because the technology was so new, and everybody was just shocked by it. And I mean, but then as the movies progressed, it lost a lot of its fans that it became more diehard. And there's things from my childhood that my parents must have shook their heads and walked away. Like, watch Sid and Marty Krofft sometime. I watched that as an adult, but that was awesome when I was a kid. But it's when I look at it now, and it's still awesome. But it's just a bunch of guys in foam suits running around on a studio set, and it's just silly. But it's definitely your first exposure is like the greatest magic to a lot of stuff in film, and it's when your imagination's the greatest. It's all there. So when you see it as an adult, you're just like, oh boy. That's just a little silly.
So you haven't watched Rebels?
I have. I don't think I watched the last season.
Okay.
The last time I watched Rebels was when Ahsoka fought Vader.
You've watched the last 2 seasons then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen the finale. I just, and it's not like I don't have cable. I have cable. I think I even have that whole Disney package. I don't watch TV, and it's terrible why I pay for that every month. But I honestly, I'm always on the move. And I have a crazy dog that doesn't allow me to watch much TV. I'm always out with him, or I'm always in my studio, and I can't watch anything that really I have to focus or pay attention with or on. So it's like I just watch a lot of documentaries. It's just in the background, just background noise.
Yeah.
So I do have to I have a lot of things to catch up on, a lot.
So what about Resistance then?
Haven't. No. I and of course, I was contacted by the pilots, the Jolly Rogers, like, oh, we look at these 2 pilots, and I'm like, I don't somebody else, because I'm more specialized in original trilogy stuff, and I immediately saw the one character's TIE pilot, and I'm like, well, there you go. Animated TIE pilot helmets, there you go. So I haven't. I've heard mixed reviews on it. I've heard a lot of people like it. I heard a lot of people say it just doesn't feel like Star Wars. But I can't say either or.
Do you have any impressions? Do you think you'll ever watch it?
I hope to have some free time.
Yeah.
Catch up on a lot of things, because all my friends talk about a lot of the TV shows, and I am unfortunately just out of the loop. Haven't seen Stranger Things. I think I saw the first season, and it was one of those while I was working, so I wasn't paying attention perfectly, and I need to go back and watch a lot of things. And that's why I think I even saw part of the Rebels after that one season. I just haven't caught. Terrible. Not too entertained by that stuff anymore.
You definitely need to see Stranger Things. I'm sorry, it's really, really good.
I will. I think I saw a lot of. I don't remember much though. That's just the problem
That
because
is
it
a
was.
show you need to pay attention for. It's a little
Yeah.
like you like you go to do something and then you look back at the screen and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, I think that did happen a few times, and it's just it ruins it, and it's a terrible experience to view a movie that way. And it's tough for me, um, having a lot of the knowledge of how it's all thrown together too. That it's hard for me to watch films without being a critic almost. But I remember watching a lot of it and going, my God, that was me. Because I was that age at the time of these characters of that time of the 80s. It was very, it's a fun time. It's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. It was a way for your friends to, uh, and everyone was afraid of it too. I remember you couldn't have Dungeons and Dragons stuff at school. You weren't allowed because you're worshiping the devil. And then you tell the teacher, no, but I think he worships us. And then you definitely go to detention. and yeah, they were, we were very strange Catholic school kids. So yeah, so when you look back and you're like, that was a wholesome, nice youth activity. But no, they were terrified of it. Absolutely terrified of it. But yeah, I definitely have to. And then part two, never saw it. So yeah, I'm way behind.
Really need to catch up. Just do what my dad does. He grabs a helmet to work on and he sits on the couch and he does it at the same time.
See, I do that. It's kind of sometimes my mornings. Because I'll go in at night usually and do a lot of the vacuum forming. And then I will bring home a bag of parts. And if I'm going to watch TV, it's usually with just a bag full of parts in front of me that I'm just trimming out. And I just have a scrap bag I throw in. But yeah, I can't though. That's how I miss everything. Even with Rebels. I remember binge watching the Clone Wars. And this is back when I was broke a couple years ago, and like downloading it at the coffee shop up the street from me and watching it on my laptop. And that's just usually how I catch up. I'm not a serial follower of really anything. And if it comes out next week, you stay glued. I'm definitely, my generation grew up on that same time next week, same bat channel. And once we broke away from it and have devices of recording, which kind of came about when I was like 8 or 9 years old, you got the VCR. It's like, I don't have to worry. I'll catch it later.
Yeah.
And I think I have a wall of DVDs, and I probably 40% I haven't watched. So I'll get to it. It's just one of those things that don't always, when you're in a studio a lot, you just don't have the time, especially with deadlines. But definitely, I'll be seeing the new Mr. Rogers movie though. Definitely going to that, but I don't even go to movies much. I can't sit still in a theater, in a dark theater. I'm just like, I got to get up and walk around. It's a lot. Very. Yeah.
Actually, what? So, you said you liked the original trilogy, right?
That's pretty much where my focus is in the Star Wars universe.
What would you say is your favorite movie then?
You have to go with the original. And it's tough because I can't say the Empire is better than Star Wars. I don't like Return of the Jedi. I remember, I think I was about 12 when it came out. So it's like kind of like the end of my childhood happened at Return of the Jedi. I think it was just that year. And it was funny. And that's when Dungeons and Dragons was really popular. And like, you kind of toss Star Wars aside because they did. You know, like Star Wars is over. There's not going to be another one. Oh, look, here's an Ewok TV show. And like, we'll give you that. Oh, and a Droids cartoon. And it was just in a state of it's over. You know, I don't think they ever considered, or you know, there was, you know, right at that time, I remember kind of thinking that. But you know, I was 5 when Star Wars came out, and huge part of my childhood. So there was like 2 years of being a Star Wars fan that I'm going to tell you was probably the most blissful time of being a Star Wars fan because you had nothing bad to compare it to. You just had one movie. You know, like, this is the greatest movie ever, and that's it. And it was great. And you had all kinds of crazy theories. You know, of course, you had no idea. You know, the whole family plot twist. You know, your kids playing, and you know, of course, Luke and Leia are boyfriend and girlfriend. You had no idea. It was a strange time. And I remember when Empire came out. I remember loving it, seeing it before all my friends, blabbing them the ending, getting really a lot of them mad at me. But I remember it when it was horribly reviewed. I remember, I think I was about 8 years old, watching it like Siskel and Ebert, and they were saying things about it that I didn't understand. But I remember giving it like thumbs down and it didn't do terrible at the box office. But a lot of people didn't like Empire when it came out, and I do remember that. Just because if you look at it as a movie, it just kind of anticlimactic. It has storylines that just kind of go all over the place, in a way. And I don't know. It's just they kind of left the story open ended at the end, and then do that to it's a strange thing, and writing the script and not even knowing how it's going to end. They did that for Return of the Jedi too, I believe. You know, they're not really sure how they wanted to end it. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm at with it. Just watching Return of the Jedi and going, okay, they killed Boba Fett, great. You know, oh, they killed Jabba. And like, what's this Jabba? I was expecting Jabba to look something like a you know, a more bigger version or nastier version of Boba Fett or something, some sort of alien species that could actually be afraid of. I mean,
Oh, you wanted Boba Fett to be?
oh no, I just wanted Jabba to look like something to be scary, not just like a giant. Like I could run away from Jabba.
Right, but he hires a lot of people that will run after you.
Sure, he could, but he's not a big target either, you know, or small target. I mean, I get it. You know, he's a gangster and he's surrounded and blah 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 blah. But you know, you're a kid and you're not thinking like that. It just, to me, I was kind of disappointed. And then the Emperor. I mean, I think the Emperor was played by a great actor, but he still kind of was like a cranky old man wanting you to get off your lawn. I was expecting a little something that Darth Vader would be afraid of, and of course, yeah, he's the Emperor and took on all this, but sure. But again, you're a kid, and I was just kind of disappointed by it. And then, I don't know, I'm just not even going to mention the Ewoks, I think. I'm just not.
What about the prequels? What's your opinion on the prequels?
I also think they were well done. I didn't like the droids. I just thought they were a little silly. and too much comic relief and too human. They humanize some of the robots just a little too much. The droids are just they just remind me of like Lenny and Squiggy from Laverne and Shirley. They just do. They're dopey looking. They're not scary. That's the other thing. They're not menacing looking. And when when we grew up in the 70s, we had Cylons, and they were really scary. They had these digital voices, and they had the eyes that went back and forth, and it was just a bunch of guys in a suit walking around, but scary.
Yeah.
Walking down the street, you're afraid. The droids look like a bunch of ants, crawling ants.
I always thought the assassin droids looked really creepy when I was little.
No, which one were they?
In the Clone Wars?
In the Clone Wars.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, I mean, sure. I'm sure if any robot coming at you, unless it has a big smiley face, it's terrifying. But I mean, it's pretty close with those droids. They're just silly. So I did like what they did with the story. Clone Army's very interesting. I like the development of it. I think my imagination just lies with the original trilogy, and really the love lies with that because it is from my childhood. And when the prequels came out, I think I was in my late 20s and early 30s. So at that point, I was kind of, over it a little bit. It's fun and entertaining, but I don't see myself immersing that much into that reality. That fan so much as a fan, to when you have so many generations of films. But I just kind of stick to the classics.
Mm-hmm. Zoe,
Yes.
what is so I was looking at the notes. What is the magic leap?
Okay, so it's a link to an article from Forbes. And it's about a game they're coming out with.
Oh.
It's for like a VR headset thing. It's called Project Porg, and it lets you like play with porgs like in your house, and like looks like the porgs are there. He's kind of like an AR thing, and you get to like feed them and train them, and you get to just
Never look at my dogs again.
You get to basically have pet porgs. And apparently 3PO's in it, voiced by Anthony Daniels.
My friend from the Jolly Rogers, he has the Knights of Porg group, where they're the Porg protectors, and it's all things Porgs. Who is the VR company that developed it? Do you know?
It says it here. It's a collaborative development. Is what it says. One of them is ILMXLAB, which is part of Lucasfilm. It says.
Okay, I wonder if
it's
Oculus.
Lucasfilm. It says.
It sounds really, really fun.
You need a headset, like VR thing. It's for Magic Leap is what it says. I think is the thing.
When does this come out?
It doesn't say. It looks like there's no date. But the Magic Leap device, which it says it's a prototype right now, so it's not like totally done, ready to sell. But the prototype is at $2,300 for this device, where you can play this Porg game, which is a lot of money.
I imagine a headset system that is multi multi-used, and other like other games other than just raising porg.
I think there's like other games you can play on this. It's like the porg game is what this article's about, I think. So
Yeah, I'm around all of that technology quite a bit. I really spent a lot of time in makerspaces where a lot of these guys develop that stuff. And it's crazy, the virtual reality. And I have a very good friend who is works for Oculus here in Pittsburgh. And they make virtual reality headsets and like software. But I know they're working with Lucasfilm on something, some sort of.
is it? I know the Oculus is having like a Vader game.
That's probably it. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't mention it to me. That just, that division he works in, but certainly, the company he works for. But yeah, that's crazy. So it's probably, something to do with that.
So yeah, lots of VR games, lots of VR Star Wars games, which is cool, but expensive.
It's great technology, and it's something I'm looking to get into. And when I have some time, like you talk about TV shows to watch, I mean, there's so much cool technology out there that I want to play with, and that is definitely one of them. Is virtual reality sculpting, where it's a headset and gloves, and you have your file in front of you, and it's not there, but it's a file, and you're working on it, but in your hands are doing the work as if you are, and all that equipment's around me. I'm in a factory that makes 3D printers, and I have the maker space that I originally was part of is just 3 blocks down from my factory. So all that equipment's there to make some of the coolest stuff, and it's just time. Wish I had the time to do it, but it's cool to have all that technology. Definitely cool.
It's expensive. I want it.
It does say the prototype for this Magic Leap thingy it's just a prototype. So maybe it'll be much cheaper, hopefully.
I would need to get the VR thing first.
Well, the VR thing, Magic Leap is a VR thing.
I'm confused.
The Magic Leap is the VR headset that the porg game is going to be on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully it'll be cheaper by the time it hits consumers. Because if not, I will not be raising any porgs.
Just cook them.
I don't want to cook them.
When did that was, what was that, the Tamagotchi? When did that get so expensive? That you have to have it in a virtual reality sense. It's funny. It's like, dogs cost about that much.
Yeah, it is cheaper than getting a dog. If you consider vet expenses and food. So, maybe someone wants a dog, but they're like, nah, too expensive. I'll just get a porg.
Just get a dog and name him Porg.
It's funny to even see the what they merchandised out with the porgs. All the animated toys that they have for them. It's pretty funny. I mean, my Oz has a porg chew toy.
We have porg chew toys for our. Oh, we had 2 porg chew toys, but one of them got totally ripped up. So now we just have 1 porg chew toy for our dogs.
My Oz has I think every Star Wars toy they made at Petco.
We have a Phasma.
And you know, it's funny. He didn't destroy it. He likes the Chewbacca. He likes the Vader. He likes the Kylo Ren. But he ripped the arm off the Jawa. And yeah, well, the Jawa is pretty cool because his eyes light up. You just smack him, you know, against something, and his eyes kind of strobe. But he just ripped that arm right off the Jawa. And it's funny. It's sitting on my kitchen table, and he did this probably about a year ago when he was a younger pup. Yeah, he was getting so bad. I was like, all right, either all your stuffed animals are going to be snakes and octopuses. Snakes and octopuses. Yeah.
We
He likes the pork. He definitely. It's funny because he's walking around the neighborhood carrying it, and it's like, oh, he's got a little chicken. Like, that's he's chicken.
It is a chicken.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. That's why everybody was.
Chicken.
Yeah, that's why it's hilarious. Like, you know, Chewbacca was eating one. It's like, well, I'm sorry. He's a carnivore, and I bet you it tastes just fine. Sure, they make great pets too, but I bet you they make delicious pets. It's terrible.
We need a recipe from Chewbacca.
I bet she's got good ones. I bet he was the one cooking for Han the whole time. I don't think Han cooked for Chewie. I see Chewbacca being more the chef of that relationship.
He'd be very unsanitary chef, but it'll work.
Radu, I have a question since you said you like the original trilogy better. What are your thoughts on the holiday special?
You know, now there you go. Good example of why you like, you know, you say you like the droids and everything. Imagine seeing that when you were 5-6 years old. and this is the truth. This is the truth. I remember seeing that, and there had not been any toys out yet. And it was a Christmas without toys from Star Wars, and they had some really dumb ones, like you know, you look back now and they call it label slapping, where they just slap a Star Wars sticker on any old space toy they had, and that was out there. So, you know, here you had it was like Star Wars in your living room, and it was awesome, and you had no idea as a kid how ridiculous it was at the time. I do remember really laughing at Carrie Fisher singing and totally making fun of that. But I mean, this was also like, you know, the first appearance of Boba Fett too. Actually, no, there were toys out. I think I'm wrong on that. Now that I'm confused, I remember having a Boba Fett action figure and having no idea who he was. And you had this action figure for, you know, probably a year that you sent away for. And here he was in this animated sequence, and the animation is very, very 70s, very heavy metal style animation, which was really, really funny. But you got to know who this character Boba Fett was, and he was quite a mystery. And if you can imagine just having like 12 action figures to play with in the Star Wars world, if you can imagine that, just 12 characters, that's all you had. So you had like Battlestar Galactica action figures and Buck Rogers action figures. So you incorporated all these action figures into this crazy little world that you create as a kid. So the holiday special was awesome for, I guess, the 14 minutes of the animated part. That's about it. I mean, it was cool. I remember, like, you're seeing like these matte paintings of Chewbacca's world and seeing the stormtroopers, and I remember the naval trooper in the store, like buying the pocket aquarium or something. I can't remember. It was just cool seeing it all again. in your living room. So it was exciting for a child to see it. I watch it now, and people don't believe me it exists, but I'm like, it's your kid. It's awesome. It was pretty cool. And another thing, rush to market. Get something out quick.
See, my dad always says that, like, it's true that watching it now makes it, like, seem like it's the strangest thing in the world. He says all the holiday specials back then were like that.
You know what? Google, like, Brady Bunch Variety Hour on YouTube, not Google it. But that is the honest. He's right. I mean, there was a lot of variety shows in the 70s, and they had silly shows like that where they get like the hottest disco act or the hottest, actor at the time to just make a cameo in it. I mean, you should see some of the funny stuff Mark Hamill had to do, like in other countries. Like, there's one he did in Germany that was like him dancing on top of a snow speeder. It was really, really silly. The different TVs. They really didn't write. The writers weren't the writers they are now. They had 12 channels too to pick from. There wasn't a whole lot to pick from. You didn't have much option. Back in the 70s. The variety shows. Oh yeah, they're pretty epic. But yeah. So I mean, the holiday special is definitely. I think I had to watch it live to really appreciate it. To watch it now on YouTube, it's just.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it very much when Zoe showed me.
Yeah. I mean, there's other like weird variety show appearances, very much like that out there. The Donnie Marie is pretty close. Star Wars on Donnie Marie was pretty silly. Yeah, that was kind of like the same thing. Like you always thought Donnie and Marie were like the brother and sister or something. No, they were cousins. It's like, okay, oh, weird family going on there, the Osmonds. But it's 70s were a strange time. Definitely. You didn't have a whole lot of culture outside of your neighborhood, really, of what was exposed to on your TV or outside of your just what was around you. Living in a city was a big deal. Back then. Yeah, that's right.
I think the thing that really got me in the Christmas special was I think Lumpy and just how all the Wookiees looked.
Oh, I think that was the toughest thing about it is they're like, okay, we're gonna put the show together, and it's gonna be this little holiday special where Chewbacca visits his family, and I think the scriptwriters were sitting down and getting ready to type words and dialogue. What? They're just gonna be growling at each other for 20 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Much what it was. Who had lines? Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher. That was it. Oh, R2 and they had lines. Everybody else just kind of grunted. Yeah, that's true. And it was one of those things as a kid, just like, how do they understand them? It's just, they just do. But how? They just, they understand. You try to explain that to a kid. It's pretty hard. I don't remember what I told them. I was trying to explain it. How does a kid, how do you understand Wookiee? It's, it's a language. But that's probably the worst of it. It's just like, how could you possibly air something on like primetime Saturday night uh, for a holiday, and it's just literally just dialogues of two Wookiees yelling at each other. It's pretty silly, definitely silly. But yeah.
I actually have to go. I have to make dinner. Sorry.
Sounds good. I have to eat dinner.
Same here.
Thank God.
So
It's been really good. If you can, I don't know if you heard him at some point. He was jumping around, and I was just throwing the ball for him. But he's laying down calm now. He passed the podcast test. But it's great talking to you guys. I will. You're going to Celebration?
yeah, I am.
You are. I will probably see you there. It's up in the air for me. I have so much going on with the studio, and I'm a homeowner, so I have stuff to do there. So I hope I can make it. And boy, is it expensive. Jeez. But I hope to see you there. All right, and if not, I'm sure I'll see you at the next Steel City.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see each other soon. And this was fun. You guys take care.
Thank you.
So, Radu, where can we find you?
Oh, I do not have a website. I don't have a business card. I don't have Instagram. I don't have any of that. But you send me a bookie with the stuff, and that's kind of what I do. Yeah. Radu Plucinsky.
Okay, so thank you so much. Remember to check us out. Listen on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, honestly. And
Awesome.
yeah, so thank you so much for listening. I was Zoe.
Thank you. I was Lizzy.
So thank you for listening to Star Wars Geek Girl. Thank you to Radu for joining us today.
Star
may the force be with you, and
Wars
goodbye.
Geek Girls. They're geek girls that like Star Wars. And sometimes cry.